back to the channel. On today's episode, we are going to be working on the BMW M3 and accomplishing one of the biggest things every M3 owner should be doing on their BMWs. That's rod bearings. You guys probably hear the horror stories and all this stuff about people failing to complete this big service item and then they damage their crankshaft and whatnot. But we got ACL bearings, we got new rod bolts and everything else that we're going to be accomplishing. And on top of that, we've got every other little thing that we want to get done on this BMW M3. That's talking about painting the calipers, and I'm not even going to spoil it. So make sure you guys are watching throughout the video. You guys will see the whole build process. And without further ado, let's just jump in straight to the video. All right, so now we got the garage all cleared out. And this is time we're gonna go ahead and respray these calipers. And if you look behind me, look who we have. 6 months later, back from Ukraine.
Yeah, back to Ukraine. Help John. Now, we painted inside, everything, yellow color. Be nice. Nice car, expensive car.
Get it nice and ready. Let's get these calipers yellow. You ready for yellow?
Yeah.
Ukrainian colors?
Ukrainian colors, yellow and blue.
Let's do it. Alrighty, so we got everything all primed up. All the calipers are cleaned up, carb cleaned. We actually use brake cleaner actually. You could use carb cleaner too, but brake cleaner is probably better on the seals. Got it 100% cleaned, scuffed, 180 grit for those who are wondering. And then you go make sure there's no grease or contaminations. Primer it with high heat primer, mask around everything, and we got it all masked up and ready to go. So we're gonna go ahead and go grab some lunch real quick, come right back, spray our base color, and then our clear. Check out these calipers. Dang, do these look good. Take a look at these right here. Looking really nice. We got the back ones done as well. Everything's looking good. Let's go ahead, put these wheels back on, get this car lowered down. Man, this thing's looking good. Oh, look at how clean these look. Wow, does this yellow actually add a nice touch? The car's still kind of high because it just came off the lift, so it does have to settle. And take a look at this side as well. Man, they are looking phenomenal. What a great touch. Wow. Really like that concept. I love how this black with the black lip and everything else is coming along with the red interior. And now we got another package that came in. And as you guys can see, it's right over here. Let's go ahead, open this up and install this. I already know what it is, but you guys will find out. And take a look at what we have here. So we have our rear spoiler finished in a nice gloss black. We got some tape over here for the double-sided tape. And it's gonna go right here on the rear. Gonna give it a little more of a OEM plus aggressive look. Now, the Lamborghini's got this big, beautiful forged carbon. That's got the full carbon. Both of these are like, you know, really aggressive track style setup cars. This right here is more of an elegant, you know. It's an M3. You can take it to the track if you want. You could also have heated seats and a little bit nicer and comfortable of an interior. a little bit more classy. So I wanted to make this look like more of a classy, you know, the classical look. So you got the classical wheels, the fox red interior, and of course we got this little spoiler, so it's not like a big giant one that's just sticking out. Let's go ahead and put this on. I think it's gonna add a nice touch to this car and get this spoiler installed. And take a look at this. A nice little subtle touch. And on top of that, this thing is looking really sharp. So it's got some dust on there, we'll wipe it down. But it looks really good. OEM Plus, and that's exactly what I wanted. I didn't want something too big, nothing like a duckbill. I mean, I wanted something to look still classy as this car looks like, and still add a nice OEM Plus look to this, because take a look at that. Wow, does that look nice. Guess what we have to do? If you guys know these BMW M3s, well then you know that these are problematic for rod bearings. Not that it's a big issue, it's just something that you're supposed to do out of preventative maintenance, because if you don't, then everything can just go kaboom and cause catastrophic failure, rods being seized, crankshaft and everything else. So on today's episode, we're gonna be doing the rod bearings on this M3 for the very first time. I've never done it before. We've got all the kit. It doesn't look too complicated. So I figured, you know what? Let's try it. Well, there you have it. Take a look at that. We got the subframe completely disconnected. Although I might say that it wasn't that hard. It really wasn't. It was just first time doing it, trying to figure out where everything is at. You know, we disconnected everything. We could have left everything on the you know, control arms and stuff and just let it hang. But I didn't want to damage like ride level sensors or headlight, you know, sensors that run down here and stuff. But now we got full access to our oil pan, and we'll have to go ahead and remove, I guess, moving one of the tensioners right there. And then we can get to the bottom of this. But this right here, wow. I'm happy that we got this far. Putting it up, we're definitely gonna need a jack because that's what we had. Our buddy was looking for the jack. He's using it right now, and as soon as he's done with it, we're gonna go up there and borrow it from him. So, yeah. But we got creative and we used this thing and it worked perfectly fine. But take a look underneath this thing. Now you have so much room. I mean, the next time we do this, it's not going to be that hard because we know exactly where everything is supposed to go. Right now, no one knows. Well, I try to follow YouTube videos. I didn't know how everything goes back together. And unfortunately, a lot of the videos don't show you exactly what bolts. So you kind of have to see what they do and then go from there and figure it out on your own. But like all these little connectors right here, sensors, they should be all disconnected because you can break all this stuff. And take a look at our engine mount right there. That thing is gone. There's the other half right there, broken. And then on this side over here, this one's already gone. I mean, take a look at that. Oh, there it goes. It just broke off by itself. So, yeah. Our engine mounts are bad. Safe to say, no one's ever been in here and doing this. So we're upgrading the engine mounts. All new seals, all new crush washers. And, of course, the oil pan and rod bearing and all the other fun stuff. Take a look at this. We are to our rod bearings now, and might I say it wasn't that difficult. Just trying to figure out where all the bolts are at, what size they are. That's probably the most difficult part, but pretty much it's all self-explanatory if you are somewhat mechanically inclined. As you can see, there's our rod bolts right there for our caps and whatnot. So we're gonna have to crank the motor over and turn it around, and that way we can rotate these and take them out one by one. Without further ado, let's go ahead because everything else in here is looking really good. There wasn't any metal shavings either on like the bottom of this, so that's also a good sign. Like, that's cast. I don't see any metal shavings or nothing. There was no leaks or anything, so yeah, that's all good signs. We got a new gasket for this thing as well. Let's go ahead and get all this all done and service these rod bearings. So take a look at our rod bearings. Everything in here looks very clean. We're gonna start with this one, which is the one that gets the oil the last. That's cylinder number 4. And we're gonna try to see how the caps look. So but first, we're gonna have to make sure both these bolts are sitting flush like this. So to do that, we got a 32 millimeter up here, and we're gonna go ahead and slowly rotate the engine. There we go. Stuff's moving very slowly. Oh man. It is tough to do it by my hand by itself. So let me get an extension bar on this thing and we'll get this rotated. All right, so here is gonna be our first, our first rod bearing bolt that we're gonna take off. And this is gonna be cylinder number 7. So let's see what this thing looks like. We got our 12-point socket here. There it is. This is what we've been fighting for this whole time. Let's get the second one out. There's the cap, comes right out. And moment of truth, how bad these look. Wow, that looks actually pretty good. I don't see anything wrong with that one. There, right there is our bottom rod bearing. As you can see, it looks really good. I don't see anything being out of the ordinary. We're gonna go ahead and take the top one off now, and the top one's the one that has more wear because it pushes down once it fires. So let's go ahead and see. So there is our top one right there. As you can see, there is a little bit of wear, but nothing out of the ordinary. I don't see anything. I'm trying to figure out if these has ever been replaced. Looks like there's some codes on the back of this thing. I'll look this up. I wonder if these have been replaced before. All right, so we got our bolts here for the rod bolts, and we got our torque specs. We got the new rod bearings right here. We got our ARP assembly lube, and then we got our engine lube, and we've got 2 of them in so far. Everything's going really well. It's actually pretty simple. All you gotta do is make sure it's clean. We got engine assembly lube right there, as you can see it. We got 2 done, so we got 2, 4, 6 more to go, being an 8-cylinder car. So we'll keep rotating the engine right here from the crank, and one by one getting to them. There's our new bolts. These are 11 millimeters. So for those who are wondering if their rods have been done, if you have 11 millimeter bolts and they say BE on them, it's been done. If they're 12 like that, those are factory. So whoever had this car when we got it, as you guys know, it was all 100% stock. So whoever took care of this thing really did really well, because for having 106,000 miles on it, that's the top. This other one's not bad. I've seen way worse than this. So good thing we're doing them. I mean, these are factory bearings, as you can see. There is the 0, well, no, it goes this way, I guess. 08 something. Yeah, 08090. If you have those bearings right there, those are factory bearings. So we'll set these aside. We'll compare all of them. Until then, I'm just gonna go ahead and get this all done, because trying to get underneath here and trying to go back and forth and lube it up and having this and assembly lube and all that fun stuff is just gonna get the camera really dirty, and it's taking too long. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put them all back together, and I'll show you guys once it's completed. Well, here is our rod bearings. Take a look at this. So we got all of them off. You can see there's wear on this one. There's some wear on this one. Definitely some wear on this one. A little bit there, a little bit there. They're honestly not too bad. I've seen worse, especially at around 100,000 miles. But whoever had this car probably babied it. It was probably like some really, like I said, like it was all original, all stock, probably grandma owned or never tracked. So everything in here is looking clean. We got our oil pickup tubes back on, Loctited everything back on. As you can see, our engine mounts are busted. So we got to clean that oil pan right there. I'll go ahead and clean that off camera. And we got our new L-ring oil pan. And we got new mounts in here for the engine mounts, all of our washers, and all the fun stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and put all this together. You guys will see how fast it moves, because it'll be fast forwarded most likely, and we'll go from there. And there you have it. Oil pan is all on. All the bolts are torqued down. We still got to put this pulley for the AC compressor pulley back on. And we're going to swap out our engine mounts. But man, we had to torque everything down. Got everything all torqued. There's our torque wrench right over there. We got the ARP, well, BE bolts torqued down to 50. And also these were 10 Newton meters a piece. So you got 3 different sizes. So make sure you guys know what they are. But they're pretty simple. All the smaller ones run along here. There's 2 of your longest ones that actually go up here by the crank pulley. So you got one here and one there. This side is all the smallest ones. Also on this side is the same. And then you got these that go to the bell housing of the transmission that run along the sides here. And yeah, pretty much we have completed the rod bearing job. That's it, guys. This is it for the video. Thank you guys for watching. I'm just joking. That's not it. But we have successfully finished doing this for the first time, and I must say it's not really that difficult, just time consuming. I definitely wouldn't be doing this on my back if I had a, if I have a lift, and I wouldn't even do it on my back, because this would be a very messy job to do on your back. The only other thing we have to do now, as you can see behind me over here, is the subframe is sitting here, so I'm gonna have to get a buddy to give me a hand because I don't have a jack for that. We'll throw that back up on there, and the rest of the stuff is connecting the control arms and all the electrical stuff that we have to disconnect. We'll swap over the mounts, and that's it. It really isn't that much of a difficult job. It's just time consuming, and realistically, if we have to do another one of these, probably do it in about 6 hours. It's not that difficult. Alrighty, so we got everything all put together for the most part, besides like some under tray panels, but I wanted to leave that stuff off because of the fact that when we're running this car for the very first time and we start this thing up, I want to make sure that there's no leaks whatsoever. Sometimes those under tray panels can hide a lot of that stuff, so we got to make sure that there's no leaks before we put all that stuff back on, or if there is any issues, so we're not having to remove all that stuff once again to get to those issues. So let's go ahead. I'm going to put the camera down. Hopefully this thing starts and it doesn't knock and everything goes the right way, because it's not that hard, but it was very time consuming, and you know, it's rod bearings, so hopefully we'll put them on the right way. There shouldn't be any issues, but let's figure it out. Fingers crossed, we'll figure out what happens. This is the very first start, and you guys will see what happens. Well guys, we got the motor running. Everything is going exactly how it should. There's no knocking, nothing whatsoever, and everything on this thing is functioning perfectly. We actually had to, I'm gonna turn around the camera so you guys can see. We actually had to go ahead and fill some more power steering fluid. Luckily, one bottle of the CHF 11S was enough, and it's all filled up. It's still trying to burp all the air bubbles out of it, but I don't hear any knocking. It's running perfectly. I mean, it should, because we took our time with this thing and made sure everything goes back together. And coming in here, everything is all good. There's not even any lights on except for the brake light and the seatbelt light. Obviously the e-brake handle's up and we don't have our seatbelt on, but this thing is running really good. So I'm gonna let this thing run for a little bit more, and then we'll lift this thing back up, put all the under tray panels back on, checks for leaks and all that fun stuff, and then take this thing out. And then we'll take this thing out for a first drive. So hopefully everything goes as well as it's going, but this is a huge success. Checked off and crossed off the list. I've never in my life done rod bearings before. We've done heads, gaskets, stuff like that, but I've never done rod bearings before, especially on an engine that can cost almost $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 depending on where you get it from. So pretty risky move, because if we would have messed up this motor, whew, that would have been bad. But what do you guys think? We got this whole service all completed. Let's go and put this thing back together and see what happens. And just like that, we got this M3 all put back together, lowered and off the lift. Now we have to go on our test drive. So hopefully this thing actually drives well and we don't have any other issues. But meanwhile, I cleaned up the shop as well. So the whole entire shop is looking clean. Bikes on this side, tools, all the Milwaukees. And then we got all this stuff here and the GT's up outside because we were driving it today. But shop's clean, the M3's back together, nothing's leaking, nothing was knocking. Yeah, let's go ahead and take this thing out on a test drive and see how this thing drives. But we're gonna take this thing out for a little quick drive. I'll film some shots of this thing getting driven, but man, this thing is looking nice. Take a look at that. This thing is just a head turner. Drove this thing over to the grocery store. Our oil level is looking a-okay, so we are good to go. Got some groceries and decided to give this thing a test drive. Now let's get back to the shop and I think we're good. Hopefully nothing happens on the way back, but we've been running this thing for a while now, and no check engine lights. Everything feels normal. The mounts feel a whole lot better. And guys, this thing actually drives way better. So if your M3 is actually sounding like you feel a vibration or around 1500 to 2000 RPMs, you can feel it through the chassis, check your engine mounts, because ours were completely destroyed. And this was owned by a doctor. We actually found the previous owner. No wonder this thing was super babied and always at the dealership for every single service. The throttle actuators have been done on this thing. The valve cover gasket's been done. There's all the preventative maintenance besides the rod bearings were the only thing that had not been done on it, and we just got them done. So everything else that typically goes wrong on a BMW M3 on this car has been 100% completed, and we have service records, stacks of service records for this car. It's turning out a really good auction buy. When I bought this car from the auction, I didn't know what to expect. All I know is you get a couple minutes to look at the car and hear it and see how it's going, and you kind of ultimately decide whether you want to buy the car or not. And when we got this car and it was running through the auction, I looked at it and I said, you know what? I guarantee you someone old had this car, because the car was like 100% stock. Everything on the car was stock. It didn't look, abused or track race date or, drifted and the bumper hanging and stuff like that, which you usually see with BMW M3s and, track cars, GTs and stuff like that. The bottom end's all scraped up, side skirts, people are, lowered them, camber gang and all that stuff going on. This thing was mint. So I was like, you know what? That's a good sign. So I ran the Carfax on it, full service records from day one. Like, whoever had this car had this thing serviced at the BMW dealership, and it was just like boom, 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 boom. Every time it was supposed to go in for service, it was in for service. Typically, you don't see that usually. Now, the other thing that we noticed when I bought this car was how good the interior was in. Normally these interiors, people trash them, but whoever had this took really good care of the interior on this car. And that was another telltale sign. The body is straight. Everything on the body's looking good. And same with the front end. And also, we have 2 sets of keys for it. So that was a big sign. And I was like, well, we got 2 sets of keys. Everything's looking stock. What can realistically be bad with this car? And I know how the big franchise dealerships are. You can go in the dealership and have, all the lights on your dash, and it can be something simple or it could be something major. But it was a great deal. Like I said, we got this thing for a steal, and I want to know from you guys what you guys think. Did we get a good deal on this car? Now, before I end this video, we just got in our new Alcantara fabric so we can go ahead and rewrap the steering wheel. Now, this steering wheel is actually in really good shape. As you can see, there is some wear and stuff, but I mean, the Alcantara just looks so much nicer. Having that yellow stripe, I think, is going to offset it really nicely with those calipers right over there, and on top of which, having the M stitching on here just feels a whole lot nicer. So before I end this, we're going to do a time lapse. I'm going to install this thing real quick, show you guys what it looks like. And yeah, man, how hard can this be? Never done it before. You guys ready to see what this thing looks like, the finished product? Take a look at this. I'm gonna flip over the camera and you guys are gonna see this thing. Check this out. All done. Take a look at that stitching on there. Looks super good. We did a skip stitch basically. So you basically skip a thread to get that diagonal design right there with the M logo, with the yellow tied in. Alcantara just feels so much nicer, and it just matches these calipers. So when we get the top down on this thing, just driving down the road, whew, it's gonna be looking nice. Well guys, unfortunately that is all the time we have left in today's episode. I really hope you guys are enjoying how this BMW M3 build is actually coming together. I mean, we did so much on this thing. The rod bearing service is all completed. We got, oh man, this thing's turning out really nice. That steering wheel right there that's on there, I really think turned out really nicely, and I want to know from you guys what you guys think. I mean, that stitching and everything else on there, that steering wheel ties in very nicely with those calipers, and it goes really well with that red, in my opinion. Now, I want to see what you guys think. Make sure you're commenting it down below. If you like this video, smash that thumbs up button, and also, guys, if you guys aren't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? It doesn't cost you guys anything, but it helps us out a lot. And, you know, it allows us to make more cool videos, such as videos like this, videos like that, or videos like this, that. You get the point, so on. Smash that subscribe button. Until then, guys, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.